Welcome back, everyone. In this section or this part of the series, what we said we would do is just revisit again, putting money out and using it for regrouping. So teaching students, why is it we make those trades? And because we're using money, this is real. This is in real time, and they can see the practicality of it. Whereas if we were going to use something that's abstract, such as a base 10 block to begin with, we're teaching them a process. It's really hard to apply. Where am I going to walk around or use those rods and those flats in my day-to-day living? So we start with the practical parts first, pieces that they can relate to, and then we move to the abstract. So not doing away with them, just a different order. So let me just take off our header. And we're going to go revisit again what we said we were going to look at in this session, and that was just using the base 10 money system. So we don't have the nickels, we don't have the quarters in here. What we're looking at really are the pieces that are a base 10 system. So working from pennies to dimes to dollars to tens to 100s, and we do give them that $1,000 bill. So those are kind of important pieces for the students to wrestle with. And again, we're not in a rush. Even at a beginning age, when we start introducing dollars and cents, there is no rush to talk about a decimal. Because when I learn about dollars and cents, I'm not necessarily paying attention to a sale sign. I'm just learning about money. And so that's why we just have a bolded line in here, because there is no emphasis on a decimal. So even in grade 3, although we don't talk about decimal numbers in grade 3, I can talk about dollars and cents, just not get in depth into the decimal components. And also remember that in your number outcomes, you have a component in there where students should be able to write a number if you're saying it orally. So this really lends itself to hitting so many different things at the same time, because I can go in and I can say, I want you to show me a number, and I want you to display that to me using your base 10 money. And so now I'm also checking to see whether or not they know the values of their money and they know how to write a number or to model a number that's given to them orally. So I'm not writing any of this on the board. When I'm doing this activity with the students in grade 3, in grade 2, it starts in grade 2 really, grade 2, grade 3, and all the way up, I'm calling out numbers. I'm not showing them on the board. So they really have to listen. And they do repeat it. You'll hear them say it out loud to themselves because they're just trying to wrestle with what was the number again, and they're just doing it that way. And there's nothing wrong with it. There is absolutely no reason that we have to go paper and pencil right off the bat. We're going to do that anyway. Okay, so let's do a first show me kind of question. We'll start small. So let's say I ask the students to show me $231. And remember, it's 231, not 231, because the and is the decimal. So we don't have that language in there. So 231, and they're using their base 10 money. And I'm going to encourage you that if you're doing this video and you have your money out in front of you as well, so that you can be doing this with me. Because the more you do it with me, you also get a sense of how much it takes for the students. So 231. So there's my 230 and 1. And we tend to turn it sideways just because it's a little easier for them to see. If they want to turn it vertically, then what we do is we encourage them, if you're going to do it this way, just make sure that they can see the number that they're doing, so that if I have to skip count by a number, same thing with the hundreds. If you want me to turn it this way, then just make sure that I can see what the value is, right? Doesn't really matter one way or the other which way they go. Sorry, shifted my screen there. It doesn't really matter as long as they can easily add on to the bottom. And the reason we do it horizontally is because it's easier to add on to the bottom on their desks. They don't run out of room. They don't have things falling off the edge of their tables. So I'll leave mine horizontal for now, but your choice. You do whatever you'd like. So below the 231, I'm going to ask you to show me $24. So again, you're going to grab some money. I'm going to show you 20 and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let's move mine up into the screen. And so when I ask them to show me the second one, they're going to put it below. And of course, they're going to learn very quickly that they're going to be adding, if that's the process that we're working on right away. But it also makes it very obvious that the tens are in the same place. I don't have columns per se drawn all the way down my page here, and I don't want them. I want them to recognize that a $10 bill goes with a $10 bill. The hundreds go with the hundreds. The ones go with the ones. And that's really what those columns were when we're talking about hundreds, tens, ones. That's really what you're setting up. But here I can see what a 10 looks like. It's purple. It has the number 10 on it. I know that it goes together. There's no confusing when I'm putting numbers. If I don't know where to line up my numbers on a piece of paper, I can see very clearly that it does matter that I put 100 and a 10 in the same column. There is a difference between them. So for our students who never understood how and why I have to line up certain numbers a particular way, especially when there's a decimal, this is our visual for them. They won't make those mistakes if we start here. If we go paper and pencil first and just make it rote process and then try and make them understand, you might get some aha moments out of that. But what we really want them to do is the other way around and understand the why before you give me the how, right? The paper and pencil part. Okay, so when I add them up, I already have them in a row that I can do that. So I have 100, 200, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 5. Notice it wasn't a question that had any kind of regrouping in it. And I do that purposely when I first start, especially when it's a warm-up question. I just want them to have success. I want them to remember they have to put them together. Okay, so you clear off your board, and that's what we tell the students. They clear them off and they put them back into the order that they had sort of in piles on the side. Don't throw them randomly on their table, just because we want to make sure that they're easy to identify where their parts are. Let me see if I can make that a little bit brighter for you. There we go. Okay, so having said that, let's try another number this time. And let's go into, just going to make a small adjustment there for lighting. There we go. So this time I'd like you to show me $308. $308. So grab 300. $8. And of course, you can pretty much see what you're going to be looking for is where are they going to put some of those? Are they going to recognize that I don't have anything in the tens column? There's no purple $10 bills in here. So $308. Below that 308, can you show me 123? So I'll shift my 8 up. So 123. So show me 123. And the students do these very quickly. Like once they're quite excited about what's the next number. Tell us what the next number is. They're quite excited to work with the money. So it's not like you're going to have a problem with engagement. That's for sure. What you will have is questions about students, just raring to go, that kind of thing. Okay, so 123 below that. Let's organize this a little bit better. Okay, so now I'm going to, of course, ask them, if I was going to add these together, it was a sum, what would my sum be? And I'm looking for them if they've come from the previous sessions already. They already know that if I have more than 10 of something, I need to do the regrouping and the trading. So I need to make sure that I am careful of that. Otherwise, students will call you out the correct answer. And I'm going to say they could go 100, 200, 300, 400, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 31. So they're going to tell you $431. Answer correct. Absolutely correct. But if that's what they've done, I would have said to the students already that when we gave you the rule about you need to make a trade where possible, I will say to them, 431 is correct, but you're not done. And that should tell them that there was something I missed here, that I could have done another job here. So my answer is right, but there's still something I could have done. So when I say that to students in the groups that I work with, they already know that when I say your answer is correct, but it's not done, that you had something that was left unfinished. In this case, I had 10 of these that I'm going to pull off of my paper. And I'm going to add another 10 in. So they go back and look, and then they'll put their hand up and say, oh, I found it. I found it. I didn't make a trade for $10. Excellent. That's what you're looking for. So the first couple that you do, you want to start fairly simple. So let's try another question. I want to introduce the $1,000 bill to you if you haven't run them off in your kit, just so that you're familiar with it. So this is an image of an old $1,000 bill, and they aren't made anymore, which just like the penny. But for our math purposes, it really serves us well to have them, because when we're doing larger numbers, it's nice for us to be able to take a student to 10,000 in just handling money. So once I get to 10,000 and I'm really good with 10,000, then adding 20,000, 30,000, that routine hasn't changed. And if they've really solidified up to 10,000 and over 10,000 in the work that you're doing with them, then you can be quite confident in being able to take them forward without having to have a larger bill. And we don't have a $10,000 bill. So it would take a lot of thousands from this point forward. All right, so here's the number amount that I'd like you to show me. And I'm going to slide mine over just for a bit, because I'm not going to use dollars and cents for a minute. I'm just going to use dollars. So this time I'd like you to show me 1,412. So put it on pause if you need to. 1,412. And as I'm saying it to you is how I would say it to students. I would say it repeatedly. 1,412. And the students will start to say it with you. 1,412. 1,412. So I have my 1,412. So I've learned that they know how to model a 4-digit number. That's the first thing you've got. And now, do they have the right amount of bills in the right places? And then below that, we're going to be really aggressive at this point. We're going to say, can you add $199? $199. So I'm going to pause the video deliberately, because I know this is going to take you a little while to do. So lay out $199. All right, so I hope you found everything that you needed. One of the common questions that were asked is, you must have a lot in a base 10 kit, and I do. In a base 10 kit, I have them in just pencil cases. That's where they have all of their money in, so all their bills fit nicely in there without getting creased or anything. They just stand up inside. And then we have multiple copies of everything. So they will have at least, at the very minimum, they will have 18 to 19 tens, a number of hundreds, in other words, to exceed to get to 1,000, so that I could give them a number like 999, add 999. That would be the worst case scenario if I was going to use everything. So every kit has at least that to be accommodated in it, and sometimes a lot more. And remember that we also indicated that we were able to get bulk orders of these rather than buying these individual little money kits. There are now bulk bags that you can get of the ones that we needed to build a base 10 kit. So I have my original. I'm going to add my extra 100. And then I added 9 tens and 9 ones to make my 900 or 199. So now I'm going to add, and of course the student should be picking up on the fact that it looks like I have more than 10. I can always check 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I do. I can get rid of this guy. And you might be asking, do they always start with the ones? And the answer is no, they don't actually. You might probably know that your students might get really excited about, I got all these tens. So here's my 10 that I'm going to trade back into the mix. I'll just put it here for now so I know. And I still had a 1 left over. So they don't intuitively start from the right hand and work their way to the left. And it's something that you actually need to teach them. You need to say, when we have to do some trading, we need to start from the right and work our way to the left, so that we always can start adding on to and trading up. But when they read a number, when you say to them, how much money do you have? Again, it is not intuitive for students to read it from left to right. Some of them will try to read in the same way that they were doing their work. So they'll say, I have $1 and then I have $90. And then, so they're not there. That's again, it's not intuitive for children because they don't do enough work in it. With financial literacy, that should take care of it. But initially, you have to teach the children, how do you read the number? So we start from the left, which is the largest value, and then we add in our hundreds. In this case, we add in our tens, and then we add in our ones to read our number off. Okay, so I'm going to double check. How many tens do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, I know that for every 10 that I have, I can trade those for another $100 bill. So now I have this many hundreds, and clearly I don't have 10 hundreds to trade anything, so they're going to stay. And why this is also important is at some point we want to show them that the value increases by a factor of 10. So we often take those little curves and we go times 10, times 10, times 10. Well, now I can see that 10 loonies made one of these, 10 of these made one of these, 10 of these made one of these. That's why we were multiplying by 10. And the same thing for subtraction. If I have to go back and borrow is the same thing as dividing by a group of 10. So it gives me a chance to reintroduce a $10 bill and trade it for 10 ones. So when I divide this by 10, I get 10 ones. So there we go, and I put them over here. And that's the whole idea of borrowing to be able to do a subtraction. They seem like they should be really obvious, but if students A, have not worked with money, that's not obvious. But B, if they got lost anywhere down the road, especially if they're slightly older and in Div 2 or in Div 3, those students are struggling. Then they need to see this because this starts to put the reality in front of them and it makes it much more meaningful for them. So now I can read my answer. I have 1,000, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. So 1,610, 11, $1,611. So I would do lots and lots of practice with this. I would give them $2,000. I would give them where they have to regroup hundreds into $1,000 bills. So you really want them to become really good at the dollars. And then as we get better, we want to start introducing cents. And remember I said, even at grade 3 level, although we don't do a decimal there, I would personally go into dollars and cents because that's what they see in the store. That's what they see when they go to McDonald's. That's what they see when they buy something themselves. They see dollars and cents. So again, we're not going to start off with anything crazy when we want to introduce the dollars and cents. And they will ask you, can't we have something that gives us one of everything? So let's just, again, try it out and see how we do. In this case, I'm going to go a little bit smaller again, and I'm not going to ask them to regroup anything. I want to just make sure that we're all comfortable with what we need to do as far as working on just the dollars and cents. So I would like you to show me $116.35. So the and is my dark vertical line. So $116.35. Sorry, normally I would do this on a tabletop, but it was a little bit too dark for you. Okay, what did I say? $116.35. And do you hear what I just said? What did I say? I do that often with the students. And they'll say, you don't remember what you said? I said, I think I said this. And sometimes I'll say the wrong one. And they'll, no, it's not what you said. So just checking to see whether they're listening and whether they've actually got it. So $116.35. Okay, so, and then below that, I'd like you to show me $12.11. $12.11. So again, as I said, I'm not starting off with anything that's going to require them to start thinking about regrouping. That would be over the top and too difficult for them to start off with. So we want to start, give them success, make sure that they understand. So again, now I can say to them, how much do you have? So they can add up their pennies. They know they can move these up. They can move these guys up. I don't have enough there to trade. I don't have enough there to trade. So I have $128 and 10, 20, 30, 46 cents. And I encourage them to count that way. I even encourage this because that's skip counting, right? That's a good refresher for them. So wherever we can do that kind of just quick pre-teach and reteach kind of thing, that's a good thing for them. Okay, so then the logical place to go from here would be, I would give you more dollars and cents. And then if I'm going to ask them to do some regrouping, I'm not going to give them dollars to regroup and cents to regroup at the first question. Maybe it's cents they're going to regroup. And then maybe it's just a simple dollar that I'm going to ask them to regroup with something in a sense. And then you can get carried away and have them really start to regroup all the way through. And they are excited to do that. I guarantee you, they will be just, okay, give us a really hard one. That's what they always say. Give us a really hard one. And really hard one for them is that they have to think about what they're going to regroup. And it becomes almost a race for them. It shouldn't be, but it does. And the hands go up, done. And I usually say, if you're done, what did you get as the total? And what did your neighbor get as the total? And if you don't match, then go back and check each other's work and see who's right. And let them work it out, not you walk around and tell them who's right. And if they don't get it, then of course you're going to go through. So I hope that gives you a good sense of a little bit about how we would use the money now. Now, at some point, and not initially, they're going to be proficient at doing this quickly. And I always have the money out when I'm working with students. They have a little tray. They'll just have it out in front of them. It just, like I said, it becomes their calculator. That's what they can use at any time that they need to check something out. And so therefore, when I ask them a question and we start to do it with paper and pencil, I will ask them to do this first, and then I will have them do the paper beside them. And we're doing the traditional approach or whatever approach, because maybe the traditional algorithm, like I'm thinking right now, most of you are probably lining them up vertically and that they put the right digit into the right place and value that we're looking for, position. So if the number isn't correct for them in the writing piece, then we still have a problem in understanding. So we need to go back and do that. But if they're good and they're ready to do the paper and pencil part, that's great. But some of the students won't be ready just to put a number down and vertically align them. Some of them will do them as an expanded form. So they'll go 100 plus 20 plus 8 plus 40 plus this. So they're going to spread it out and they're going to add them up that way. And that's fine. That's an algorithm in itself. That didn't say anywhere it had to be one particular way. Okay, so we're going to move into some fractions in the next section. So if that's how you want to move forward, you can join me there and we'll look at how does money fit into fractions. Thanks, everyone.